So, how do you like Finland? The amount of times I get asked that. It's the ultimate go-to small talk, yet not small talk Finnish person question to ask me. Or it's the question that the drunk guy who's trying to continue the conversation at the bar will always ask. That one, or what do you think of Finland? And I'm like, oh, man. And in most cases, I have thoughts, obviously, but in either the drunk guy continuing the bar at the conversation or just the small talky question, I don't want to get into it. It's like a Finnish person asking me, what do I think of Finland, is like me asking a Finnish person, how are you? Like, I could tell you, but I don't really want to get into it right now. And I know you're just kind of asking to keep it going in a little bit. But I figured, let me talk about it on here. And then subsequently post a TikTok. And so that way, no one ever has to ask me this fucking question again. Please, I beg you. If you see me out in public and I don't know you, please do not ask me that question. Ask me anything else. Ask me about aliens. Ask me about 9/11. Ask me about religion. Ask me about, anything. Fucking anything. Just don't ask me that. Maybe I'm being a spoiled brat right now, but I'm just, that question, I'm so sick of it. But I will answer it in full depth and detail. Because then, you start answering it and you can just tell, I don't really care. And then I'm just like, okay, how can I finish this sentence as quickly as possible? Because I normally will be like, it's cool, man. Or I like it. It's nice. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I do. There's some shit I don't like. There's some shit I do like. Kind of like anything and everywhere. But are we going to get into it? And this weekend, the reason this really probed my mind was this weekend, I'm out, I'm talking to a guy, and I know him from the gym. He's a cool dude. He was a little drunk, though. And we're talking, and I'm sitting there with some friends that I'm already talking to mid-conversation. So I stopped that conversation to talk to this dude, and we kind of go through the, hey, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. It's getting to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm sitting down, you're standing here, the conversation's over, brother, I'm going to get back to my conversation I was talking in. And he started asking about practice and training. And I said, I'm being polite. I'm like, yeah, we have practice on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then I go to the gym on whatever other days. Oh, okay. Are you going to go to the gym tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I don't. And he's like, oh, what workout at the gym are you going to do tomorrow? I'm like, I had to shut him down. I said, bro, I'm sorry. I do not want to talk about what I'm going to do at the gym tomorrow. I apologize. And he's, oh, I'm sorry for bothering you. I was like, yeah, bothered. I guess right now you are bothering me. You weren't bothering me. It's just having that little bit extra self-awareness of not knowing when you're lingering. Nothing worse than a lingerer. And so, it was all good. We laughed about it. But then his other homie, who I didn't know, he gets ready to leave. And then the other homie who's with him kneels down and looks at me. He's like, so, what do you think of Finland? And I'm like, oh. And so I hit him with like the polite answer, I thought, and a clever answer. I said, man, like that's a long answer to give you. Basically saying, I'm not going to give that to you right now because I'm going to get back to this conversation, and the answer I'm going to give you, this conversation that we're going to have, is too long for the 30 seconds that I would like to continue to give you attention for. And without a hesitation, as soon as I said, man, that's a long answer, he goes, uh-huh, yeah. Like just dug his fucking heels in, like, all right, bro, let's hear it. I said, no, man. That means I don't really want to. Let's talk about it at another date, another time. And so they moved on. And so I was like, oh, but it just made me think back to like so many times. That's the question that gets asked. How do you like Finland? Or what do you think of Finland? So I'm going to answer it full out now. All right. And first, I have to say, I really like Finland. And people are always surprised to hear that, especially people on TikTok think all I do is complain about Finland. I mean, just so you know, I talk about things I like on this podcast quite a bit, but the complaints always gather the most engagement because you motherfuckers like to hear complaining. But I do really like Finland. Out of everywhere that I've lived, Portugal, Poland, Spain, Czech Republic, now Finland, I've lived all over the U.S. as well. It seems to me like society runs most efficiently. People are most polite. They mind their business the most. There's the most sense of security. Like the quality of life is good. You know, I really could see myself living here permanently as long as I didn't have to be here in the winter. It also seems like the tax money that gets paid, which is a high amount, although taxes are high if you live in California or New York, it's about the same as it is here, just so people understand that. And taxes are kind of high everywhere, not everywhere, but someone will say, well, not in Bulgaria, they're not. Because I know they're not. That's actually a really good place to start a business if you want to buy a car in Europe. Little known fact. But it seems like taxes get spent very well here. Here in Kuopio, the roads, those dudes, as soon as it starts snowing, they're plowing the roads. There's gravel on the sidewalk everywhere. It snows a lot. People are clearing the snow. In the summer, people are picking shit up. Even though I know motherfuckers litter out here, it seems super clean. So that means that someone's picking it up. All in all, taxes seem to go to a beneficial use. And on top of that, which Finland is different in the sense of a lot of other European Union countries, is they're having to support and pay for their own defensive military, which is also super legit. Like all these other NATO countries, for the most part, don't really have to invest much money into their military because they know that Daddy America will come to the rescue if need be. And so that always chaps my ass when I hear Europeans say it. Not necessarily Finnish people, because this doesn't really apply to you guys because of what I just said. But when other Europeans will say, oh, well, the U.S. spends so much on the U.S. government spends so much on military, and you guys don't even have health care, and you don't have free education, and like we do. It's like, yeah, you're right. But you realize that a big reason that you're able to do that and have the free healthcare, free education, all those social welfare systems is because you're not having to spend the money on the military. I don't think, like, it doesn't register. And the reason that we don't have some of that stuff, granted, I don't think we should spend as much on military as we do. I think we should back the fuck off from being in everyone's business. But that's kind of the American way at this point in the world and society. But because we have such a strong military presence, and then something like 30 or 40%, maybe, I don't know what the number is, goes towards military spending, 30, 40% of taxes goes towards military spending. It cost $1,000 to ride in the ambulance. It cost 25 racks to go to college. Although, that's a scam to talk about at a later date, you know. But anyway, I veered off on a little bit of a tangent there. Surprise, surprise. But getting back to what I do like about Finland, in probably my favorite thing, actually, just from a lifestyle, relationship, friendship kind of perspective, is that you can talk with someone here that's a friend or an acquaintance or whatever. Not on the internet, by the way. This doesn't exist on the internet. But in real life, you can talk to somebody that you're friends with. You guys can have a discussion, maybe even a debate, you could call it, about whatever topic it may be. You guys can see completely different sides of it, can talk about it, can try to understand each other's point of view. But then even at the end of the conversation, if it finishes with like, I see your point of view, but I disagree, it can then still finish with like, all right, well, you want to go get another beer? It doesn't end with like, I disown you, fuck you, and I never want to talk to you again. Which maybe that's exaggerated a little bit, but that's a very somewhat much more common thing in the US, where it's like we have developed this idea in the States, just a very polar idea that if I like you, then I have to agree with everything you say. And then if I disagree with something that you say, it means I don't like you. And here, that's the thing I enjoy the most, is like this last weekend was talking with a buddy about kind of the war and things going on. And we ultimately like kind of agree on the like major details, but then with some of certain points and like points of view, you know, he's a Finnish guy, I'm an American guy, that like, I think with like, he's looking at it strictly from a Finnish perspective. I'm looking at it much more from an American perspective. I'm trying to also see like the global way, and in his eyes, he is too. We just see it differently. And at one point, like, it's getting, I mean, heated would be an exaggeration, but it's getting to the point where like, no, I don't agree. And afterwards, finally the conversation ends, and it's like, all right, you pass me a beer, bro? And that's the kind of thing that I really, really enjoy here. That's different from the States big time. Like, you can maybe do that with some super close friends, but even with that, man, I've had in the last 2-3 years, I've had a couple like literally lifelong friends basically cut ties. And I'm kind of partially to blame too, although I feel that I just reacted to the ties being cut on their end, and we're like, all right, well, if that's what you want to do, then I'm not going to continue to make this attempt, over my feelings and thoughts towards the pandemic and how things were being handled in the very beginning. So that's one thing. But like I said, on the internet, that doesn't exist. It does. It does. I occasionally get a comment of like, well, I disagree, but I still respect your point. It's like, that doesn't happen in the States. That's not happening in YouTube, on American YouTube. And then obviously the thing I like about Finland the most is the 2 days of summer that we get here. it's just a totally different vibe. You know, I realized it last year, probably like early June. I was sitting at the park on a bench, and just you saw people walking by laughing out loud, and it wasn't in a bar after midnight, which it feels like in wintertime, the only time you hear a loud laugh in public is when someone's just drunk as fuck at the bar. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. Like, people are smiling. And yeah, okay. Like, it's just a different vibe, and I get it. But that's what makes summer so fucking awesome here. My one other thing I will say that I like, and this affects me very personally, is Finland is great because you can wear a mustache here, and it's not this like hipster kind of thing. You can wear one unironically. So like, I personally enjoy the mustache, and as soon as it gets above 20 degrees Celsius, I will be wearing one. That's kind of my little shedding winter fur kind of thing that I do. And everywhere else I've done it, it's always like, oh, like, that's funny. That's a joke kind of thing. And I'm just like, no, bitch, I like the mustache. You know, it's like, I don't know what the age is for being able to wear a mustache unironically. You know, like once you become a dad, but I guess it's more like 50-year-old. Because my dad always had a mustache growing up. But yeah, it's like 50 and up, you're allowed to have one, like unironically. But here, you rock the mustache, and it's just kind of like, all right, do your thing. So I appreciate that. Let's see. Getting into the bad. Obviously, the one everyone knows is the darkness and the winter. For me, it's not so much the cold and the snow, although I say that, and I'm kind of fucking pissed off about the cold and the snow around April 6th, what it is right now. I don't mind the cold and the snow in normal winter times at all. But the darkness, bro, that's what, for people that aren't from Finland who, you know, listen to this, it's hard to explain. And it's hard to explain then how much light there is in the summer. Like right now, I'm recording this at 6:30. The sun's still up. But like a month and a half ago, it would have been pitch dark at this time. And 3 months ago, it would have been pitch dark for the last 3 or 4 hours. And so that darkness, and then contrasted with the lightness, I don't know. I think it fucks up your head a little bit. I know it does for me. I'm not a psychologist, but if I had to give a uneducated guess, I would say it's not good for your mental health overall. And judging by the fact that Finland has a very high rate of suicide, I think maybe some data could back that up. And so that's like obviously the main thing that I don't like. And then some of the other things is like, and I guess it's not that I don't like, I don't know how to say it. It's just something I think maybe they could do better, or what, I don't know what the right way to say it is. But for as progressive as Finland is in a lot of social issues, whether it be the gender equality stuff, whether it be, I don't know, whatever it else may be, it's weird to me how regressive or kind of old school and like, yeah, traditional they are around the topic of drugs. Is like drugs, no matter what it is, whether it be weed to meth, it's like they're all just lumped into the same box of rocks. You know, it's kind of, I feel like maybe how the US was in like the 80s or the 70s or something. You know, when like the war on drugs started there, it was just like everything was bunched into the same thing. It was like, oh, you smoke a joint? That's the same as doing heroin. And it's like, no, there's levels to this shit, you know? And then just on top of that, just even talking about drugs, like openly in conversation or whatever, it's kind of this taboo topic. And for, as I said before, a country that I feel discussion is very open and you're allowed to have a lot of different dialogues and people respect whatever you say, or, you know, even if they disagree, they can, you know, you can still talk about it. It's weird to me then that the topic of drugs seems to like really get swept under the rug and no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to address it. And it's just kind of like, well, it is how it is. And to me, the like traditionalist idea and phrase, well, that's just always how it's been, is like a super dangerous phrase because it doesn't lead to any progress, you know? And just because you've done something the same way for however long doesn't mean that's the best way to do it. And then kind of like piggybacking off of that thing is then something that doesn't really make sense to me is just the judicial system. And by that, I mean like the penalties that are enforced for crimes that are committed. Because, for example, like, you know, there's no life sentence here. But some of the stiffest penalties that you can get have to do with either like evading taxes or having drugs. And so this actually came up in my conversation with my buddy this weekend, and we were talking about murder and just this exact conversation that I'm having now with myself and the camera. And he was like, you know, say me and you got into a fight and I punched you and you hit your head and died because of it. He's like, I would maybe get like 3 years for that, 2 years for that. He's like, but if I had a bag of meth with me, separate things, I would get 12 years. And while maybe that's not a like perfect, great example, because I personally don't think like if you punch someone in the face and then they, you know, in like a bar fight type of thing and they die, like that's different than premeditated murder and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's getting into the details. But then the fact that like someone's death is like 6 times less than having some drugs is just kind of a weird concept in my mind. And just in general, it's almost weird. I almost don't want to say this, but I'm going to. It's weird to me how Finland is so safe in certain ways, because with the penalties being so lenient, essentially, like, for example, if you murder someone and it's your first offense ever, you'd get life, but life is like 12 or 14 years. I'm not exactly sure. But if it's your first offense, you can normally get it reduced by sometimes at most half. And so there's at times where you could kill someone in cold blood and be in jail for like 6 years. And then on top of those 6 years, the jails here are pretty chill and pretty nice. So it's not like you're living this like Guantanamo Bay 6 years. You're living like your own room 6 years kind of thing. And so it's not that I'm all for giving people second chances, and I really disagree with the U.S. judicial system in a lot of ways, the 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, you know, where, I mean, don't even get me started into the discrepancies between crack cocaine and cocaine, because it was a good way to get poor people, which tended to be at the time that it was put into place was a lot of black people. It was an easy way to do 3 strikes and you're out. And I don't think the U.S. system is the one to look at as the example at all, given the fact that I think we have 10% of the population. I think that's too much. And we have 25% of the inmates in the world. I don't think the U.S. is the golden example at all. But I will say that I also feel that there's some shit that you're just not allowed to do in this life. And if you do it, you have to pay a consequence and you kind of lose your chance for this life. And so the idea of like a super premeditated murder, I don't know if that's a good, like, because in my mind, how I said before, it's almost weird to me that it's so safe, because in my fucked up brain that I have, it's like, okay, if I was like so passionate that I wanted to kill someone so badly, one person, and for whatever reason, this is extremely hypothetical, and I played it out in my mind that, okay, I can kill this guy and I'm going to have to do, let's say, 6 to 12 years, and that's worth it to me, then I would do it. Because it's like, there's a book I read of How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World, and it says, you can break the rules. It's okay to break the rules as long as you're prepared to suffer the consequences. And so that's like this weird thing that kind of messes with my mind. But then even on that side of things, of thinking of like child molestation, mass murder, things of that nature, that to me, you do that kind of stuff, then you've given up your shot. Like, you're not supposed to do that. And everyone knows it, and then by doing it, maybe not pro death penalty. In some cases, like examples in the States where someone kills 10 people, or this dude who drove through the crowd, or, I think that happened in Germany like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like, for me, in my opinion, you do that type of shit, like, sorry, bro, you're done. I don't think it's smart at all for taxpayer money to go towards keeping you around. And that's how maybe that's harsh, but that's just how I view it. And so in instances where it's like 100%, there's, the person admits to it, like there's video evidence, whatever, yada, 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 then, and it's some super fucked up shit, you got to go. And so that's like where the thing for me here is like tough to wrap my mind around at times, because it's fortunate that overall people are good people here. Because if we had that same system in the States, I don't know. I don't know how it'd go. So that is my extended answer to what I think about Finland. 30 minutes, damn near. So, if you see me out at the bar, never ask me that fucking question again. Or if you do, please do, because then I get to plug my podcast. I'll say, hey, bro, go check out episode 109 of my podcast, because I'm going to give you a 30-minute answer that I really don't want to talk about right this second. Although maybe at the time I will want to talk about it. So keep asking me. I don't know. But now I have this reference to give to the drunk guy who's trying to extend the conversation when I don't want to talk to you anymore. Well, I guess I didn't do my intro. If Yeah, let's do the intro. Yo, 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 welcome to Living for a Living. 30 minutes in, episode 109.
Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
Appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Appreciate you if you're from TikTok and came about the thing here. I think I've been plugging it pretty hard on TikTok, and I feel like I'm gaining some momentum on that. Please subscribe. Please just like the video. You know, we're kind of gaining some traction. I'm kind of gaining some traction, and so those like little things, rate it on Spotify. I got an official rating now on Spotify, which is fucking cool. Please do that shit. It means a lot to me. I know it is super annoying to hear, but it takes fucking 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Just all right. Cool. But dude, I had a revelation this week. I think I'm like on Instagram and just in public, I kept seeing girls with like the little tooth stone. You know what I don't know if you know what I mean. And I was like, And then it hit me. Tooth stones are the girl version of the dangly earring for the guy. And what I mean by that is they're normally pretty cute and attractive if they have that, I think. Especially the guys. But if you start messing with one of those people and then they end up playing you, you have no reason to be surprised because you should have known that from the beginning. That's just like when I see girls complaining about, oh, he cheated on me. Oh, he played me. And I'm like, show me a picture. And like, dangly earring. It's like, babe, you did it to yourself. You should have known from the jump. And that's what I'd say exactly to the homie. If he was like, oh, bro, she cheated on me, man. Let me see. Oh, she's got a rhinestone on her canine tooth? My G, you should have known what you were getting yourself into. So, now you know. But, dude, yeah, this I had a couple little random meetings this week that were kind of fun. I was walking through town, going to lunch, and a dude stops me on the street. Mormon guy, I can tell. And he spoke to me in Finnish, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, bro, I don't speak Finnish. That's like the easy get out of jail free card for anyone trying to sell you something or getting you to donate or anything just like on the street, is I can normally hit them like real quick with the, sorry, I don't speak Finnish, and just keep it moving. Every now and then someone will call my bluff and just switch real quick to English. And then I have to ultimately be like, well, I'm sorry, I don't donate to just random things. I try and do my own charity work in my own life. But he hit me right away. He was like, oh, really? Where are you from? And I could hear his American accent right away. And I guess in my mind, I didn't think about the fact that Mormon missionaries are only coming from the U.S. It just didn't register in my mind at the time. And so him and his homie had been in Finland for like a year doing their mission work. And we had a nice little 5-minute, 10-minute conversation on the street, exchanged information, and I might go to a little Mormon pancake night and board game night one of these nights. Because, like, I don't know, I like talking to different people and different things, and I think, especially with a guy like that, he's not going to try and push shit on me. And I'll let you know, like, stop pushing shit on me if you do. But it's still, I'd be down to have a conversation. I'd be down to hear what he thinks about that kind of thing. I've never really had too much of a, like, religious conversation with a Mormon person. And religion's a weird thing, bro. Because nobody knows if they're right. Whether you're atheist, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, whatever. Nobody knows, player. And that's okay. That's cool. I kind of got my own little religion up in my dome, which I'm going to be writing a book soon, selling Kool-Aid too, so just stay out on the lookout for that. Anyone who wants to join that group, just let me know. It's awesome. I mean, like Scientology gets looked at like craziness, which, I mean, it kind of is. But is it that much crazier that, I mean, Scientology, I did some report on it in college in religion class. It's like, you got to keep paying to know the information, essentially. And it's coming, it was written by a sci-fi writer and all these things. But like, whatever the craziest thing, let's see, let's look up. Crazy Scientology beliefs. Well, this doesn't actually sound that crazy to me. Among the basic trends of Scientology are the beliefs that human beings are immortal, that a person's life experience transcends a single lifetime, and that human beings possess infinite capabilities. Here, let's go 5 of the strangest things. Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology is the science of knowing how to know answers. And practicing Scientologists are convinced they know some pretty bizarre things to be true. Here are the 5 strangest. All right, where's... Okay, according to Scientology, the fundamental creation myth goes something like this. Xenu was once ruler of the Galactic Confederacy, an ancient organization of 76 planets, having existed for 20 million years. The planets were struggling from extreme overpopulation. Fearing he'd be thrown out of power, Xenu gathered billions of his people, froze them to capture their souls, Thetans, and transported them to Earth for elimination. He dumped them at the bottom of volcanoes and then destroyed them in a series of nuclear explosions, killing all but a few and sending their souls into the air. Once in the air, the souls were captured by Xenu, who then implanted into them misleading information, including concepts related to all of the world's religion. After all this evil was carried out, Xenu was eventually imprisoned, and the Earth was left to be a mere prison planet by the Galactic Confederacy. Scientologists are not permitted to learn this story until they have advanced well into the church's ranks and spent thousands of dollars to do so. Because of such value, the church will routinely deny the existence of this story to outsiders or even low-level church members. So that's a little crazy, right? But, like, all right, that one pretty fucking wild. It's a good story, though. Like, it's a good plot. I hope they come out with the movie. But is that story that much crazier from Adam and Eve talking to a talking snake and eating an apple and fucking Noah's Ark? I think Noah's Ark's in the Bible. It shows how much I know. But is it really, the animals gathering 2 by 2, motherfucker building a huge ship? Like, is that story of imprisoned souls being implanted into volcanoes and then bursting into the world through nuclear explosions that much crazier than Noah's Ark? Or, I'm sure there's a crazy story for every religion, And so is it really that much? Who everyone's crazy. That's the one thing I'm learning as I get older. Like, everyone's fucking mentally insane. Some people are just way better at hiding it. Some people are not honest about it. But we are all on the spectrum of insanity. I can tell you that. And anyone who says they aren't, God bless their soul. Or Xenu, bless their soul. And so it's like, I like hearing these stories. I like reading that shit. And so I'd be curious to hear what the Book of Mormon says. John, what's his name? What's his name? Mormon creator. Joseph Smith. My homie Joseph. So I'll report back to you on that. Then also, other random little thing was, I was at practice yesterday doing my little warm up, and this little homie walked by. I think he's on the Finnish baseball team, which, man, I got to talk about Finnish baseball one of these days, because that sport is fucking weird. I think I could have a career in that after I'm done playing football for sure, because my toughest thing in baseball was hitting the fastball. I was decent on the curveball, but that fastball getting there quick, and they throw that bitch straight up. I think I could hit that pretty good. And in the field, I'm like Omar Vizquel or Nomar Garcia-Parra or Derek Jeter. Well, actually, Derek Jeter had a bad fielding percentage, I think. I can field that shit, boy. Shout out to Dixon, best double team combo in the world. History of the world. History of the Galactic Federation, in fact. What was I talking about? Finnish baseball. Oh, yeah, little homie. He was like jogging around. I was doing my little stretch. He's like, "Hey, you from TikTok?" And he had to be like 13. I was like, "Yeah, what's up, bro?" And we had a quick little chat. And that was like one of my cooler ones. It's like, damn, the youth fucks with me, bro. Like, now that I'm 31, it's like, I don't want to be the old guy that's trying to be cool by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like to be considered cool by the youth. It's not keeping me up at night. And I'm not going to go out of my way to make it happen. But if it does so happen, I'm not going to complain about it. I'll put it like that. So him saying that was kind of dope. I was like, okay. He's like, "I love your vids." Like, dude, my guy. All right. I feel like I've debated whether I should talk about this shit or not. I missed such a good fucking joke last week when I got punched in the face by the girl, because the same night was the night that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And there was such a good joke to be had in there that I've made just in person now. But and so what I'm saying is, everyone's talking about this shit. And so part of me is like, dude, don't talk about it. But at the same time, I'm going to talk about it because, I don't know, I'm going to try and hit at it a slightly different angle. I've heard every podcaster, every comedian, every motherfucker in the world talk about this shit, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm like super, they're all comedy podcasts, so I don't learn shit. Actually, I listened to Sam Harris's podcast today talking to a political scientist, and they were talking about the war and that kind of stuff, and that was actually pretty interesting. Sam Harris is a pretty intelligent dude, but he likes to hit things at a specific angle. That's for damn sure. But Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, was it right? No, definitely. But was it crazy? For sure. Can Jada not take a joke? 100%. It's like, the whole thing is so fucking weird. But I have to say, I'm so grateful that it happened. So grateful. Because by that happening, and then that's literally like all people have talked about for the last week or so, it's showing me that we're getting back on track and getting back to the new normal where all we care about is shit that doesn't fucking matter. All we care about is stupid rich motherfuckers. You know, think back, I don't know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That was what news were. We were talking about the Kardashians. Like, that was the thing that it annoyed me, was like, oh, people only care about the Kardashians. Bro, I want to get back to that. Because it at least is genuine. It's genuine in its fakeness. Because there's so many people that, oh, I care so much about COVID. I care so much about the war. Da 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 da. You're forced into caring. But it's like, dude, you don't really care. Like, you care because the TV tells you to care. You don't care about Yemen. You didn't care about Ukraine in 2014. You don't care about Georgia, Moldova. Like, you don't care about none of that shit. Because the TV ain't telling you to. And so at least we're getting back on track to the and people will admit, like, oh, it is kind of dumb that we care so much about Will Smith and Chris Rock. You're right, but we care. And I'm glad we're getting back to caring about fucking rich retards. It's a positive, man. I see it as a positive. And call me optimistic, which I don't really think I am. But I try and find a little bit of light in all the darkness. And that's the one light, the major light for me, from the Chris Rock, Will Smith bullshit. Should he have punched him? Oh, he's defending his wife. Bruh. I when I first saw it, I thought it was kind of like it was a setup, like publicity stunt. But then seeing and hearing all the other comedians talk about it, I don't really think it was. But in the beginning, I was like, well, no one gave a fuck about the Oscars. The only reason I knew the Oscars were on was because that happened. So if that wouldn't have happened, I would had no clue the Oscars were even on. And I wouldn't put it past someone who gets paid to at times humiliate themselves to do it again. But I don't think it was a setup anymore. It's a beautiful distraction. It's kind of nice. It was awesome, actually, to read on Twitter for a couple days. Maybe one little COVID thing there, one little war, Ukraine thing there, and then the rest just bullshit. It's like, we're getting back to normal, ladies and gentlemen, and it feels good. The other thing that a lot of people are talking about that I'm going to give I've commented on it before is the whole Lia Thomas thing and the whole trans women competing in women's sports, whether it be collegiate or, whatever. And while I necessarily I'm torn on the issue. Because while at my core, I don't think that trans women should compete in women's sports, I do support it because at the end of the day, it keeps the patriarchy strong, baby. I for sure am working into, I think I'm going to do stand-up comedy at some point. I feel like I'm getting to that point in my life, in my mental state, where also I think that's the best way to have a successful podcast too. Because like I said, I like talking to people. I like interviewing people. That's fun to do, like Rogan does. I'm not saying I do it like him at all. But then when it's solo like this, I get serious every now and then and hit things from a truly my own thoughtful way. But I kind of like making jokes. And especially from all the TikTok stuff, it's just so fun to talk shit. And I think I'm getting decent at it. Like, and I've realized throughout my life, going back to being young, I don't know how young, but like college for sure, high school for sure, like being with the homies, like smoking blunts or something, and like getting onto a roll and either like kind of, giving someone in the group shit or just talking shit just about whatever is going on and getting people to laugh. I've always really fucking enjoyed that, I realized. And then like, even now, like, I don't know where it was, but at some point in my life, and this is probably like a thing that sticks in my mind, is someone was like, bro, it's like you're doing a skit sometimes, because I like get into it. And I was like, maybe. So I don't know. That could be a thing in the future. But quick, getting back to Lia Thomas is like, ultimately, I don't really care. Well, like I said, I have an opinion. I think that trans women shouldn't compete in women's sports. I ain't fucking watching women's sports anyway, bro. I don't. Yeah. I think they should, for ratings wise, they should for sure keep allowing them to compete. Because from the ratings standpoint, ain't nobody ever talked about women's swimming. Name another women's swimmer. I'll give you from now until the next podcast I record. You're not going to think of one. And so it's like, but then also on the other end is, I'm curious to see how it goes, because ultimately it's going to make the liberal left like eat its own tail. Because there's already been people, Caitlyn Jenner's came out and said it. There's been other trans women, and Caitlyn Jenner is probably one of the best voices or examples to say it, given the fact that she formerly had won a medal as a dude. And she's come out and said, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it should happen. And then it's just then crazy to watch that insane liberal far left try to then somehow discredit Caitlyn Jenner for having a disagreeing opinion when she is the one that this insane left liberal is in theory supporting. It's like the super woke white person telling everyone how what black people want and how black people feel towards racism and this and that, and a black person being like, well, I don't experience that. And then they'll be like, well, you're not like the rest of them. It's like, what? Did you just hear what you said? And listen, I'm not saying shit doesn't happen. My boy Ant was in Helsinki the other week, and he said that like they went to a club. He was wearing a hat. The bouncer coat guy made like a real big deal about him taking his hat off. And he's like, okay, cool. I'll take it off. I'll put it on my belt loop, and giving him no, you got to give it to us. And he's like, I'll keep it right on my belt loop. Meanwhile, there's other dudes in the club wearing hats. Somebody walked by him and was like, dude, you don't have to give him the hat. A guy who was wearing the hat. And he's like, well, what about that dude? He's wearing a hat. And the guy was like, well, I didn't see him. And, it's like, I know like little shit like that goes on. Like, don't get me wrong. And it's fucked up. Like, but while it's a story, like there's that, like that is a story. That's an issue, but that's Ant's story to tell. That's not like, I couldn't, even though I guess I just fucking told the story. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite. But I wouldn't sit out on the corner and preach some shit using all of these other examples. And then if someone was like, well, I've been to the same place and I didn't get that experience, be like, well, I don't know. I wasn't planning on getting into that. Let's fucking move on. Oh, actually, well, no. My last thing, I guess, on the Lia Thomas thing is it's just, I don't know. Call me an asshole. It's kind of fun to see people kind of get a taste of their own medicine. And the old saying of be careful what you ask for. It's like, at a certain point, I'm sure, women support women. There's these people who now are realizing, oh shit, maybe this trans thing is more complicated than we made it out to be in the beginning. Because even right now, I'll give it to you. It's such a rare thing. But also it comes back to my own kind of personal philosophy of you don't want to create rules based on exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rules, but you don't want to rewrite the rule book in order to because of the exception. You know what I'm saying? And so right now it's really not even as big of a deal as it's being made out to be, even though it's being made out to be a huge deal. Because it's only one girl. It's Lia Thomas. There's someone in sprinting or, I think there might be one on the women's soccer team. I don't know that for sure, but let's pretend there's one trans woman on the women's soccer team. And when it's only one, even though if that one and that small percentage is winning a huge majority of things, if there's only one, it's people will be like, well, what's the big deal? And I get that. And would agree. But then thinking towards the future of well, what if then the top 4 or 5, the podium of the Olympics, the podium of whatever college track meet thing is, the NCAA's, what if the podium is all trans women? What if the U.S. soccer team, basketball team, whatever, WNBA, etc., is all trans women? Because that's maybe that's extreme, but at a certain point, if we continue on this path where schools are allowed to schools are getting crazy. Schools are allowed to kind of groom kids and almost encourage them into being trans at a young age. Then we're going to have way more in the future. We're already it's more and more prevalent, even though I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but are the people who are okay with it now when it's only one, are they still going to feel the same way about it if it's literally top 3, if it's 7 out of 11 on the soccer team? That's okay. Then it puts out some red flags, I guess, in my mind. And I'm all for people living their truth. I'm all for it. Even, going against and doing things despite what other people say. I'm a supporter of the LGBTQRS elemental. I'm a part of it. I'm not, well, I guess you can be queer and not be gay now, I hear. So I think queer also means weird. I'm a little queer, bro. Yeah, but I've also seen something that says that someone says they're queer, but then they're straight. So who knows? The rules are just being made left and right nowadays. But I'm all for it. But with actions, there's certain consequences. And competing in sports, to me, isn't like a right. It's not something that you just automatically get to do no matter what, despite us giving trophies to everybody nowadays. Like, if I was 5'2", it wouldn't be my right to play football professionally or play basketball professionally. Like, just because, well, I want to. And maybe this is a bad example. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like physical characteristics. And so while I'm all in support of people doing what they want to do, cutting things off, to whatever, however it is, I know it's more complicated than that. I'm all for it. And I truly do support you, despite what you probably think I'm an asshole and like making jokes about it or whatever. I also don't think then with that, it's your right to do that. But then it's not your right to get to compete in sports, I guess. I don't know. That was a long fucking winded thing that... yeah, right? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. All right. This one on my mind. How long are people going to wear masks? Because here in Finland, it has never been required that you have to wear one anywhere. The government has only ever recommended it. But that recommendation now has been off for a month and a half or more than a month. Yet, I still see people playing the charade of wearing it in the restaurant until I sit down, putting it back on when I go to get up, when I go to the bathroom, taking it off when I sit down. Like, it's theater. Let's fucking call it for what it is. Like, how long are people gonna do that? I wonder. Because in my mind, like I said, here it's not even recommended that you do that. And personally, I don't get, it makes me kind of mad that I don't know if people who work in certain places here are required to wear it by their work or it's recommended. I don't know what the deal is. I feel bad for the people that are wearing it. Like, if you're someone who wears it at work because you think it makes me, the customer, feel safer, please stop. Because I want to see your face. There's no extra sense of safety. And I know I'm just one person. But from my opinion, I appreciate it when someone's not wearing it at this point. From like a server or, I mean, bartenders don't wear them. Like, that's the problem. Just another fucking big... Bartenders don't wear them. And they're literally in a super crowded place. Yet somebody at the restaurant will wear it. Where people are already like social distanced and da-da-da. It's like... So I don't know. For someone who's working, if you're wearing it because you think it's what I want, I just want to tell you, I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want. I don't know if you have to wear it by your employer, whatever. Finland to me seems like the place where you could be like, nah, bro, I'm going to do what the fuck I want. Because I guess that's a thing I missed in the things I like about Finland, is it feels for the most part, despite talking about drugs, that there's way more freedom in Finland than there is in the U.S. in certain areas of life, especially with how things went through the pandemic. Granted, there's a difference between red and blue states in the U.S. Florida, man, Florida's the best. That's all I know. But I just don't get how, when I see someone doing the old mask on to get up and go back to the buffet and then put it on to leave the restaurant, I'm just like, so you're just going to do this always? This is a forever thing for you? and I know I'm sounding maybe like condescending and whatever. I'm genuinely curious. Like, I truly am curious. Like, at what point are you going to just stop? At what point is the mask staying in the glove box? At what point? Is there a point? And just, man, on that same little note, like, people get sick every other fucking week nowadays. Like, I know people who have been sick 3 times in the last month and a half. It's like, I think I've been sick 4 times in the last 3 years. Once when I first moved to Finland, I ate some bad pizza, and I think I got food poisoning. So that one, like, kind of doesn't even count. Once before I left for the van trip, I was getting bloody noses at night and kind of had like a fever. I was still working on the van. Like, I still wasn't like bedridden sick. I was still doing my thing. Although I did kind of think I was going to die. It's scary to wake up with a bloody nose. Think like a ghost is haunting you or something. Once in Portugal, after the van died, I think I had COVID then, because I lost taste for a week, or like 2-3 weeks actually. But I never felt that bad. And then there's been like a day after my Helsinki trip this year where I think I got 5 hours of sleep for 2 or 3 nights in a row, staying in a hostel, traveling, so eating Taco Bell. So it's like, it all makes sense. But I know some motherfuckers around here that have been at their house for the last month and a half and are sick every other week. I don't get it. I mean, I do kind of get it. Most all those people have one thing in common, I'll tell you that. But we'll get into that next episode. All right? Yeah, we'll talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter next episode. I'm sure there will be some more funny tweets that come from that. One thing that was super dope was Pat McAfee and Logan Paul were in WrestleMania. And it just shows you can do whatever the fuck you want if you're just ballsy enough to like put in the effort and work and get a little bit of luck. Because, I mean, look at Jack Harlow is hot. If that's not the biggest example of just competence is key, and then working towards the skill set and thing that you believe in yourself, I don't know what is. I think I have like a decent understanding of knowing when a dude is good looking. And to me, Jack Harlow doesn't do it. But although the new song that he's about to come out with, fucking fire, bro. Like that, all power to him. I like his music. But on the internet, you see these girls just gushing over him. And it's like, bruh, if that isn't the example that confidence is key, I don't know what other example there is. So, yeah. We'll call it a day. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. And until next time, peace and much love. Holla. I kind of got to poop, but I've already pooped like 3 times today, so I figured let me hold off on that right now, you know. Have you ever sat on the toilet so long after you finished pooping that when you go to wipe, like it's a non-wiper, but not because there wasn't anything there, but just because it's probably dried up? Yeah, me neither. Dude, I had one. Sorry to start with poop humor. Oh, dude, I had one last week. Man. That was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I immediately had to shower afterwards. Yeah, I can't post it. I can't. No. I mean, can I leave that in? I don't know. We'll see. I don't. No.